Okay, next we have the Ni signals, beginning with Ni1, which is hypnotic eyes. And hypnotic eyes are going to be staring through you. So there's a looking past objects. There's a far away, 100-yard gaze, but the upper eyelid will be lowered over the eyes. So they'll have a sleepy look to them. So hypnotic eyes will have a sleepy look to them, like this. So you will see them gazing through you as they talk, like this, with the upper eyelid falling over the eyes. Ni2 is unblinking eyes, and this is often paired with the hypnotic eyes. So as the hypnotic eyes are staring past things and looking through you and having a fixed gaze, the eyes will not be blinking. The eyes will forget to blink as they're looking through things, or at least the rate of their blinking will be much longer than the average person's rate of blinking. So Ni3 is zone outs. Zone outs are when you notice that they've actually lost contact with you, and they will not be looking at you anymore. So this is actually the signal that is the looking through things, and you'll be able to tell if they're zoning out if their eyes are no longer connected to the subject. The subject may be in their line of focus, or they may not. Or their eyes might be slightly to the side of the line of focus. So in practice, it'll look like this. See, I'm just a little bit off the camera. I'm not on the camera. Maybe like a foot away, and my eyes have just, I'm lost. I'm somewhere else. I'm zoned out. I could even zone out while I'm looking at you, but the point here is usually there's a slight movement away, and it could be like this. So that kind of zoning out is what Ni does, where the eyes just disconnect and look far through what it's supposed to be looking at. Ni4 is raised outer edges, which is the counterpart to Si's slanted edges. And this has to do with the outer edges of the eyebrow being raised up due to the ocular tension caused by the area around the eyes, so that the eyebrows actually look like this. Ni5 is an intense scowl. Both PI functions use scowling as a way of rejecting the object. In this case, rejecting information, because scowling is a kind of hold on a second. It's caution. It's like SI caution, and also NI suspicion are parts of what might cause the scowling. But also scowling can be from doing heavy information recall, when you're going into yourself and you're really trying to disconnect from the object in order to seek that inner image. Intense scowling happens because of the ocular tension of the eyes and also the raised outer edges. So a lot of times it'll be like this. This is Ni's intense scowling. Will look like this. Ni6 is abstract rambling, and this is the counterpart to anecdotal rambling from SI. So anecdotal rambling in SI is the narrativism of SI as it traverses the internal terrain, but goes from one concrete data point to an adjacent concrete data point to an adjacent concrete data point. So there's kind of a, and then this happened, and then this happened, and then this happened. That's kind of how SI's narrativism works. With NI, the narrativism is not, and then this happened, and then this happened. It's not so chronological. It could also be trivia based for SI, but with NI, it's pattern to pattern to pattern, theme to theme to theme, abstraction to abstraction to abstraction, in such a way that where it seems a little bit weird to trace why they are going there next. So they might start off talking about politicians, and then they go into the social systems of society, but then from there they go into pesticides, GMOs, and then from GMOs they go into the Illuminati, and then from the Illuminati they might go into entering in the next epoch of humanity, and then they might go into astrology, and then they might go into tarot, and so forth. They're communicating the pattern, how all of it kind of goes from one to another. And the key quality here is not the content so much, although this is a content contingent signal, since it's a language signal. The key component here is the fact that they lose touch with reality as they're doing this, as they surf from one idea to the next. Now, Ni7 is cryptic speech, which is very much related to the last one. And this has to do with the fact that the encryption of information in SI is thematic, but it's subjective. So if you ask an SI user to unpack their narrative to you, they can more or less do it because it was stored in a concrete fashion. So again, like I said, it may be chronological, but it's episodic in one way or another, with indexes and sequences. So often SI will take care to delineate the steps A, B, C that are involved in a whole story. So the story is told. So Tolkien's an example. I mean, he goes through painstaking lengths to paint the whole narrative out to you, and he gives it to you in that way. But it's formatted as such that it's comprehensible, which is amazing because SI is an introverted function. But with NI, the encryption key is their own personal way that they synthesize information, which you cannot unpack from the outside unless you have the encryption key, unless you understand how they pieced those things specifically together through their entire life experience. So as they're talking to you, they will switch from one topic to another as they're following their trend lines, but you may not be following their trend lines. And if you're not following their trend lines, you might say, wait, how did you get there? Like, what does that have to do with anything? Why is that relevant? Why are you tying this into here? So, for example, synchronicity might be something that NI might be attracted to, and they might synchronize information sets in a way that other people might struggle to see the correlations. And so this cryptic speech refers to this information web that's correlated in such a way that the correlations are not seen by other people, but they are seen by the NI user specifically. NIA is far away drifting zone outs. This is just the way that it is for SI, in that it's a variant of the PI diagonal eye drifts, except in this PI diagonal eye drifts, it's with the zone outs, the zoned out eyes. So this is a very similar signal to the zone outs in general, except the zone outs might happen as they're looking at you. They might just start to zone out. But in this case, they actually take the time to go off to the side. Their head moves, and then they zone out, and then they come back to you. So there's that back and forth. Ni8 is grounded inertia. This is in contrast to SI's lightweight inertia, which still has the buoyancy of NE, but with NI, there's no buoyancy. The other side of NI is SE, and SE has presence. So especially high NI users will be very dense. Physically, the embodiment will be dense. So they might just sit there and they're grounded. This is what gives Morgan Freeman his composure. Part of it is his voice, but part of it is his grounded inertia. There's a seriousness to it. There's a I'm here, I'm sitting here, I'm standing here, and I'm not moving from here. I'm owning the space. This is where I am, and there's also a conductor signal, and the conductor high NI users usually have that very strong physical presence, physical ownership of the body, whereas SI, even though it's a concrete function, it still lacks a little bit of that owning of the body, because the whole oscillation as a whole has NE as the untethered kind of ephemeral ethereal function. Lastly, we have NI10, which is esoteric SE channeling, and this is another psychological or language sign related to when they start to talk about SE in a kind of mythologized way as a portal into higher vision or insight, higher vision or insight. So the relationship that NI has to SE is one where the SI is the pole that gives it the information for the patterns that they're so seeking, which is the connection with the all, which is the universe. So SC is the portal for them to have contact with the universe and all of its patterns, which they always sense everywhere, and they want to know more. So NI actually wants, to some degree, what SE has to offer, but kind of on its own terms. So there's a kind of idealization of SE, even though in practice, SE is oftentimes something they're reluctant to engage in such a physical manner. But they'll idealize SE as a portal into everything else they wish to know and insight in general. So that psychological relationship to SE might manifest in things like how they might treat meditation, how they might treat tantra, how they might treat subjects that have some guided experience, guided sensory experience into some higher state, instead of actually living out life in the locomotive real-time sense. Now it's like, give me an avenue, a setting in which I can channel SE on my own terms to do what NI wants to do. That's the key difference, and that ends the NI signals.